All right, everybody, welcome to Cyber Bulls. We have the whole gang here with us today. We've got the Queen, Tesla Boomer Mama. We've got Christian joining us again. And today is actually Jeff Lutt's birthday. And of course, Xander's making a ton of money on his options play. He's happy today. We've got to take a look at this bit of news that just came out, and I want to hear what you guys think. Let's take a look at some photos.
Breaking news.
So this came out, and Jeff Roberts posted this, saying that this look at this photo here, guys. 2 Model Y bodies shipping out of Giga, Texas, heading to Fremont. It says here, are these the refresh? If you take a little closer, does this look like a Model Y? Does this look like a compact car? What do you guys think?
Like a van? It almost looks like a Model X to me.
No. The Model X is not as steeply having the slope. You see, look at the front. It looks as if it has the lights in a. You see that point exactly there. That's completely new, and it looks shorter.
Yeah, well,
I don't want to speculate.
The frame rail,
the way, I don't know.
The way it's pointy like that, that looks like it's missing the front fairings.
I think we get in trouble when we start trying to figure out, like, thinking some magical things happening. And maybe there is some magical thing under that, but it could be.
There are no wheels in the car, right? We agree there is no wheels in the car.
Right. And when do you see cars fully wrapped?
Exactly.
Like that.
Maybe it's a prototype of something, a prototype or something.
Exactly.
How was that wooden new generation from Woodhouse, from Hans von Woodhouse? Was it as steep in the front, the slope? I have to check that back. You remember the ones where he showed us this wooden model?
Yeah, I'll take a look.
This is the point. This is the point in time in the program. My prediction is that they want a design lock on the compact this quarter, maybe April, whatever. And this would be the point in the program where you would hand make. These could be out of, they call them like sand prototypes. So there's other types of materials you could use. And this would be in the point in the program where you're kind of trying to look at everything structurally put together. But obviously, this isn't made with any of the final methods. So it could be something like that, which would be really super compelling and awesome. Or it could be one of the other vehicles that's missing some of the front fascia pieces. I don't know. That could be giving it that slope. But I mean, we'll see. They're wrapped. They're going to Fremont. And if you were their prototype casting shop is in Texas. So
exactly. And what is, and the front one is shorter than the back one, right? Or am I completely off it? I mean, I tried to measure it. Oh, now you're taking it. That's the back one which looks longer than the front one.
That one's hard for me.
No, they look the same to me.
Gauge.
They look the same. Just the straps might throw your perspective off.
The front looks a little bit lower and smaller, but I'm not really good at 3 dimensions, so I hear that every day at home that I'm not good at 3 dimensions. It's true. It's true. It's always like, girls don't see dimensions. Yeah, no, you don't want to go there.
Okay, Alexandra,
the engineer. I could buy that.
I found the photo. So while we're talking,
did you? Good job, Herbert.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Let me show you the photo.
Is this more breaking news? What is it?
No.
This is this like, it reminds me of the van.
Right? Look at the slope. Look at the slope. Look at the slope. I told you.
Overlay him, Herbert.
I don't know how to overlay. So you do it.
Oh, but it's not bad at all.
It's
Look
probably
at the
that
slope.
thing. Maybe they wrapped that thing up and they shipped it.
That's true.
They wrapped that up and they shipped it.
Good girl, Alexandra. I saw 3 dimensions.
Yeah, that wheel right there looks exactly like the wheel because there is a wheel look, but it's just not a wheel. It looks just like that.
There we go, Alexandra. I'm so proud of you.
If you were to make a robotaxi, I think you would want space. You want it to have space to be able to watch videos, to feel comfortable. It may not be as small as we think, although they did say that it's going to be very utilitarian, right? It's got to be cheap.
Now the other thing. Why would you put it so evidently on a transporter? Because, I mean, if really they wanted to hide it, they could have put it in a container, right?
I don't think
Okay.
So
Tesla cares.
why do they
Hey,
let us see this?
Alexandra, Tesla don't sweat details. Details. We're just going to put it on there and move it.
Well, I mean,
Wow. Okay.
they're protected, but Herbert, I was going to say this earlier. I think that Tesla's moving so fast, like with the Model 3 refresh coming out. It's like check a few tweets from from management, congratulating the team on working hard, getting it done, and move it on to the next thing. And there you go.
Wow.
Exciting.
Anyway, exciting. Exactly. We need some exciting good news.
The company and the product. Don't look at the quarterly stock movement.
As a trader, I got to take some off the table and wait for a better price.
A very realistic bull, questioning certain decisions.
The rational bull. We enjoy listening to bears.
Looking for the red flags. You're supposed to react.
If you had the chance to ask a Tesla executive, Elon, or a board member a question, what question would you ask? Let's start with you, Alexandra.
Okay, so mine, I would ask Robin Denholm because I don't think many people feel any link to her, and I do. I'm obsessed with this lady. I think she's absolutely great, but obviously not a lot in the spotlight. She has done one interview on CNBC, which was very small, and she was next to Ron Barron, so it wasn't really focused on her. And I would like to ask her how it is to be chair of the board of Tesla, how her female side comes out of it, how it is to manage such a male-dominated engineering genius company, how her daily involvement is, how often is she at the factory, how, just understand how she does it. Because I always hear these people saying, oh, Tesla's board is in existence. That's not true. Tesla's board is there and is trying to manage Elon, which is not a small task. And I would like to hear that directly from that lady. So if I had one joker to ask, it would be a question to Robin Denholm.
Okay, fantastic choice. I'm going to save Jeff Lutz for last. It's his birthday. We'll save the best for last. Let's get started with you, Xander. Who would you ask a question to?
I'd ask to the management team, and I guess maybe in the HR department. I wonder, as they scale, how do you maintain that? I don't know the word to say, but how do you maintain the excitement for innovation, and how do you keep the politics out of the day-to-day operations?
I don't know, man. It sounds like it's Elon. It's the passion for mission, right? Like it's
Yeah,
not HR.
exactly. How do you maintain that and keep that?
Oh, okay. And then you, Christian.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would ask Elon. I love Elon. I followed him for a long time. I think he's doing lots of great things in the world, and I think what's doing on X great with free speech, and I admire that a lot. But I guess just a general question. So when he talks about being the biggest company in the world, being bigger than Apple and Saudi Aramco combined, I would I know it's hard to predict, but I would just like to know like what his confidence level, like how confident, if you had to put a percent on it, that would get done. So is it like 90%? Does he think it's a 20%, an outside chance we might be the biggest in the world? Because Tesla stock could do really good and not be the biggest company in the world. So I would just love to get his confidence level in that statement on a percent basis. I thought that'd be interesting.
Okay, I'll go next. I think that Elon has actually asked quite a number of questions already. So I would talk to Tom Drew. He just doesn't seem to have enough airtime. He is very powerful. He's very important for Tesla's mission. I would ask him about the factories. I want to know when and how many bots does he think will be able to be working in the factory, what kind of jobs they can do. He did mention that once Giga Mexico is up, he said, imagine if we had 5,000 bots there. But I want to ask him as well, is there something such as, the factory is the product? Would he ever consider, would Tesla kind of like consult and share the IP, or have money paid to license out the factory to other OEMs and so forth? To me, it's like it's all about manufacturing now, not only about the cars, but of course, manufacturing the bots. These are things that are critical, and I want to ask him more questions. I haven't heard from him much at all. let's get to you, Jeff Lutz, Mr. Birthday Boy. Big. I guess we don't need to mention the number, but it's a big one, right?
Yeah, we're good with that. I would say, I mean, Xander's question was where I was going, which was, how do you maintain the culture as the company really expands many multiples? That was a great question. I mean, I kind of have a two-parter. One would be around where does the hardware business meet the SaaS software business? At what period of time do you see some level of convergence? Is it this year? Is it next year? Because I mean, there's been a trajectory that hardware has been on. Is it flattened? At least in the auto business, looks like it's growing in the energy business. When I say that, I mean the trajectory of gross margins. So just because I think the higher order bit they've been managing to is like, hey, we're going to get as many cars out there as possible, whatever it takes, and then eventually, the revenue produced from these vehicles will be many times what hardware only margins would be. So if I can't ask if the culture question's already asked, that would kind of be where I would go. And then the other question I would ask is, you kind of give and this would be to Elon, you give a kind of a macro outlook. And then, so what's changed in the last 12 months from your perspective, from a macro perspective? What did you get right? What did you get wrong? And how do you see the next 12 to 18 months playing out?
Why did you laugh, Alexandra?
Well, because I feel, and I think Jeff agrees with that Elon has been too pessimistic for the last 18 months, has been too optimistic during 2022, and then he sold at the end of 2022. We all know why. I'm not accusing him, but it is clear that the first 3 quarters of 2022, he was over optimistic. And then 2023 was just the end of 2022, and then 2023 was too dark compared to what the reality was. And I mean, I understand where he comes from. The car business is a tough business. It's one of the toughest business there is. At the same time, they had the Cybertruck in development, which took much longer than expected. The 4680 ramp that took much longer than expected, and so it was a tough time. He had to look after X. I understand where it comes from, but it was clearly an overhang, his pessimistic mood, and I really hope he's out of it. I cannot tell you how much I'm looking forward to this earning call, and even more to this presentation at the end of the month where he gives the roadmap for Tesla again, where I really hope there is some positive energy coming out of it.
So Xander and Jeff, I mean, obviously the employees are very important, but are you guys getting a sense that the culture is changing? Are you guys getting a little worried? Why did you guys ask that question?
I mean, I can go. I mean, just in my experience, when you and I've been at some of these mega cap tech companies where they grow from a few thousand to many hundreds of thousands. One of the concerns that the founders usually have, or the executive team, is losing, quote unquote, losing the culture. Whereas, like, what was that culture that got you to be this unicorn in this, you're growing to, multi-billion, $100 billion type company, then now beyond? What got you there, and can you maintain that culture as you expand so that in the furthest reaches of the Berlin factory or the Shanghai factory, everybody's kind of thinking the same way about, how you treat employees, how you approach work, how do you approach problem statements, and what are the behaviors and results needed to be, a highly successful, Tesla employee. When companies grow as big as Tesla and as fast as they're growing, sometimes the concern is you lose the culture. That's why.
I'll add on that, and that's a great answer. Jeff's experience is unmatched in this regard, especially from my side. But I think there's a saying that I live by, and it's hire smart or manage tough. So I think as like Tesla does a great job managing the great idea can come from anywhere, but at the same time you also have that bad ideas can come from anywhere. And if Elon's not allowed to and he's not in charge really. You see that, but if you can't fire fast, if somebody's slowing down the good ideas because they want to climb the ranks, and they're not letting that filter up. So that's where my question comes from: is what processes are in place to make sure that innovation continues to boil to the top, and in that regard, more so than like high stock prices and that.
Wonderful. Okay. I have a feeling that one of us will have a chance to ask the person that we want to ask that question to. We're going to get that chance. It's starting to happen. And I think it's going to be Alexandra. Robin Denholm will do an interview
that
with
will
you
be
one day.
that will be the day of my life. I can tell you that, because I'm very fond of this lady.
And then Jeff has been getting quite a number of likes from Elon. He's on his radar these days. And so it's going to happen. All right, so let's talk about the other topics here. So this is the agenda that we have for today. We just did question for Tesla. There's this thing called the Bulls ETF. I'll describe it shortly. We're going to talk about the stock year to date, the different opinions about how the Model 3 was announced. Elon may not be visiting India anymore. And then if we have time, we'll talk about the Q4 earnings call. And then we'll also talk about the rate cuts in the future and Lemonade. And then if we have a chance at the end, we're going to talk about X, see how things are going there. So let's switch now to this idea of a Bulls ETF. So this was Alexandra and Christian. Can you guys describe to us what you're thinking, this crazy idea?
Okay, so this happened all in our DM chats. And Christian thinks I'm crazy to be all in Tesla. You do, right? And I think he's crazy trading
I
every
don't think you're crazy.
half of a minute.
Not for me. I can't be
No,
all in
exactly.
anything.
And we're like fire and ice, and it's fine. And you know how much I appreciate you. That's not it, but it's really funny. So we came up with this idea that we should do a virtual. This is not a real ETF. I mean, I've been a fund manager. I really don't want to go there anymore. But I thought it was a really cute idea if we determined, some basic rules. Should we have the old mutual fund rules where no stock can exceed 10%? We can discuss that. Or can we have, let our winners run? Should we have a short-term horizon? Because, ETFs are tough. They're traded every day. So does that make us understand how tough it is to be an ETF portfolio manager? Because you need to have more short-term vision on the stock than when you're an all-in investor and have 10 years ahead of you. Should we accept options? Because there are ETFs that can allow option trades. So we're just throwing balls left and right how we should do that. And so we said, okay, let's talk about it here. Ask also our audience what they think about the idea. Should we set up a virtual Bulls ETF? And then we're 5 of us. Should each of us have an influence on 20% of the portfolio, right? So could each of us just make a suggestion and then every week say, okay, I cut my lemonade and I put more Celsius or whatever, and just give us a little bit of a discussion, but also hope for input from our audience during the week, telling us, see how crazy dumb Christian was with his lemonade trade.
Small piece of the portfolio. NVIDIA is my number one. Small piece.
Exactly. So, but I think it would make for good discussion a bit outside of the Tesla bubble.
Okay. Well, I got 2 big questions around this, right? Number one, I think it's weird that 5 people will make decisions. I guess I got my 20%. Is that right? And then, yeah, we need to decide. Is this, if Christian had his way, it's like, I want to show you my performance today, this week, next month. I want to look at this a year from now, 2 years from now, right? So how does this work?
Or it could be a fund of fund where each of us has a fund. And then we discuss each our personal fund.
I love to hear what's down below, but what I would say is, and this isn't for sure, but if each of us want to put like 3 or 4 stocks that we think is going to perform best over the next 12 months. So Herbert, you would pick 3, Alexandra could pick 3, Jeff could pick his 3, Xander could pick his 3, and I could pick like my 3. And then you morph that into Alexandra with a fund, whatever. She could morph it into something and weight it. And so it's not that hard, but I think maybe each of us have a few picks to lighten it up a little bit and see, how it goes. It's just kind of a fun thing. I know the majority of people watching are Tesla, but there are other stocks in the universe and there are other opportunities. So it might be fun to each one of us, even you, Herbert, throw a few out there and just see what they do for fun. That's all.
Even you, Herbert.
Kind of have an inferiority complex. I'm down below.
Yeah, right. I was looking down.
Why am I in the basement? What did I do today? Oh, there we go.
There you go.
It's easy. There you go. Look.
I feel better.
Brady Bunch.
Anyway, it's interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I think it's cool to paper trade as long as we understand.
Yeah.
Is there some rules around how often you trade per week or how it's managed?
I don't think we would trade it. We would pick our 3 and then you would just let them run and just see how they do. So you would track it. So say next week you would have picks, and say I pick Chipotle, Lemonade, and Nvidia. So then from that time on, you just track it each week, and in a year you'll say, okay, well those 3 stocks would have returned X, and then Herbert's 3 stocks would have returned X.
So you don't get to change it on a monthly basis or weekly basis?
Oh yeah, you should be able to change it, because especially if you have lemonades,
you can change it. Yeah, but do it public. So then week you come on, you're like, I'm moving out my lemonade and I'm putting in Apple. So then you would then have now lemonade out, and you want Apple to be your new stock. And then you could tweak it with percentages, but again, you don't want it to be too complicated, because who's tracking all that, So you want to keep it somewhat simple.
With 3 stocks, I think it would be nice, because you can say, okay, my number 1 is 10%, and my number 2 is, I don't know, 7%, and the last one 3% or whatever. I think and I mean those percentages will change anyway because the stock price is changed.
True.
But I think we should start this next week. But again, I'm most happy to listen to the audience whether they think this is fun or not. And Herbert, tell us what you think about this.
And you're in charge, Alexandra.
Of course, I'm always in charge. As soon as it becomes work, there she is, the queen of work. Xander, would you put options in there?
I mean, I think we should be able to monetize it by selling calls against our position.
No.
And I think you. Hold on.
You can't do that.
I think you can also definitely paper trade this in any platform and actually keep track of it. So as we move things in and out, I don't. You have a starting balance, and that's it.
Okay, Xander's doing it. I just delegated.
Let's do the construction of it offline.
Yeah, we'll do it offline.
I'd like to compete with each other. Like, that's the whole point. And maybe we should say, like, in 3 months from now, whoever has the best winner, and then that sets the stage. Like, you're here to get the best in every 3 months, every quarter.
Oh my God. And then the loser got kicked out, and I'm the first one to get kicked out.
We'll decide who goes up to the top.
No, we should have a prize. I think whoever, if you're going to do the whole idea of individual portfolios and who outperforms who, then there's a coffee bet or whatever the kids are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll just keep it fun and light, though. But I think it might be fun. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So by next week, if you're an audience member, and please give us your ideas of how we should structure this, and then by next week, let's explain what the whole structure is, and then we'll have our picks by then.
Okay.
I don't know. I might not choose 3, Christian. I might not just choose.
That's your choice.
Just choose one, right? Just the one.
My one will fail for the next 3 months, and then all of a sudden just wipe you all out. That's what's going to happen.
All right. I think we got one of Jeff's picks.
Oh, yeah. Celsius. There he is.
Not financial advice.
All right. Let's get to the next topic is stock year to date. I mean, there's a lot of things that's been happening every day. There's news, but it does feel like there's a lot of things that are not as good news so far. I mean, I can spin it anyway. And in fact, just yesterday in a space, I was saying all these wonderful things that are happening, but just the last few days, right? So Jeff, did you want to kind of summarize what you've been seeing?
Yeah, Jeff, take us through the bad news year to date.
On your birthday.
Yeah, on your birthday. Stock you've owned for 10 years. So it's Tesla's under pressure just to start the year. I mean, is it like catastrophic numbers? No, it's down maybe 9 or 10% year to date. The rest of the Magnificent Seven are, I think Apple's down 1 or 2%. But you have, Nvidia's on the other side of the spectrum's up, I think 11%. Meta's doing really well. I think Meta and Microsoft are all positive, maybe 3 to 5%. And those are big numbers, right? We're only a couple trading days into the year, so to be up, a couple of percent is actually kind of a big deal for these mega cap type companies, and also to be down 10% just a couple of trading days in the year, on Tesla is also kind of a big deal. Just when you look at the number of days, but again, Tesla could change very quickly, and it tends to do that, but it's definitely under pressure. And I always kind of look at the fundamentals first, and then to see if there's a technical overlay on after the fundamentals. And from a fundamental perspective, I would say there's been some there's been some mixed news. We're going to talk about the Model 3 launch in a bit. I mean, there's really good news there, and maybe mixed news on that. There's mixed news on is it India is there a trip to India or not? And there's a number of things just happening in the press with Tesla, so Tesla was the whole Hertz story this morning. And there's if you actually listen to the Hertz CEO, we can talk more about this. He had a perspective on what they, to me, I view this as kind of like a planning exercise of like, we're going into EV, how many should we buy? They probably bought too many, and now they're going to take that number down. And then I would couple that with if you put your black hat on, from a Tesla perspective, that takedown of the residual in the value of the cars is hurting them as well, because they've got to write that off every quarter and take a charge on that. So yeah, you've got news on Hertz, you've got news on there's concerns about decent quarter from a P&D perspective, but our margins, what's the story going to be on margins? If you look at the EPS number for the year, it's going to be stretched if it's going to be any improvement over the prior year. There's people kind of going in either direction. There's people kind of lowballing the volume estimates for the year. So anyway, there's just been some news weighing on the stock, whether it's Hertz, whether maybe I don't think it's India. I don't think that really moves the stock one way or another. Then what I think broke today was the Red Sea reroutement and logistics issues that could be hitting Berlin and maybe a couple day shutdown there. There's rumors of a pricing move happening here shortly in China. So like all these things are kind of coming together. I don't know if I've missed any other recent news headlines.
I think you hit most of them. It was a good job, Jeff.
Yeah, they're kind of
bad news. Good job, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks for the setup, Herbert. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So I've got a question for the panel here. You mentioned the technicals, and who here believes and agrees or thinks that technicals is actually accurate? There's this. I think people are saying that if we fall below the 230 benchmark, then it's going to fall all the way down to 208 or even worse. We know Xander's answer, so we'll get to you last. But let's do a little vote here. Who believes in technicals? Go ahead, Christian. You're shaking your head.
I'm gonna get in here. So forget the technicals; they're good, and Xander does them, but no one really knows. I've seen so many technicals. People say it's going to 300 yesterday, the day before. Do this, do that. If it does that, forget all that. Some of that's helpful, but it's the very basic stuff, right? Breaking a 200-day or a 200-day, a golden cross, so stuff like that. Some basic stuff. But when you start getting in all the minutia, that's not how you invest in Tesla. So let me just tell you, the fundamental case for Tesla, some of it's strong, but in the near term, earnings drive stock price. That's what I taught. That's all the books I've learned to, drive stock price. So when you talk about Tesla stock, earnings have been decelerating year over year. Margins have been decelerating, right? There's FSD is progressing, but to the naked eye, it looks like it's kind of stalled, right? We're waiting for V12. We're not sure about it. So there's a lot of the fundamental story of Tesla. We're in a kind of a vacuum, right? Where earnings is not growing. We're, like Jeff said, we're not sure if margins are bottoming out. And in the near term, the stock price has reflected that. It's come in because the earnings and the cash flows aren't what they used to be, right? Because of the reduction in their sales of the cars, the prices, and because they've reduced it, the margins have gone down. And to be honest, because of the macro and the interest rates, growth has slowed. So when you put all this together, that is Tesla's main business. So it makes sense that the stock is not rocketing, right? Because it's hard to rocket a stock medium term and long term if the earnings are going backwards. So in the short term, exciting news and I watched a show last week and Alexandra talked about there was tons of optimism. Interest rates were at 0%, and you're talking about FSD. We got the energy business growth 50% plus. We're going to do 20 million cars. You had all these things circulating, and everyone's getting excited. And the stock price is going up, and it really went. So in the short term, it could do a lot. So what I need to see from Tesla to get really confident again is this quarter, are the margins bottoming out? I know this sounds boring to a lot of Tesla investors, but in the short term and the medium term, the stock won't go up a lot if the earnings are not very good and if the margins are still going the other way. So I'll just say that. So fundamentals to me for Tesla need to improve on that aspect of it, and I think the stock will then catch a base and glide higher, and then you can get excited about all the other stuff that you talk about, Herbert. Tesla bot, which I am very excited about. I think Optimus is going to be the greatest, possible product, but it's going to take years to develop it and commercialize it. So we need the auto business to stabilize and continue to grow and actually make more money than they're making now in order to stabilize the stock price and also to fund all these other ventures like bot and FSD and Dojo. Tesla's going to need a lot of money. So I'll just leave it at there. And we just kind of need a better earnings picture.
I love it,
Alexandra.
Herbert. You wanted
Go
a
ahead,
short
go
answer, and you got a long answer from Christian.
Technicals
So
first, and then counter him.
Exactly. So do I look at technicals? Very rarely. For example, now at the beginning of the year, in my age tranche, I have, let me check it. How much is it again? 69,000 that I can allocate to my 401k and to my IRA. And so at the moment, I'm looking at technicals because I would like to buy them at 210 rather than at 250, right? Because with that sum of money, that makes a difference in share count that I can purchase. So that's a moment where I do look a little bit at technicals. Other than that, the whole year, I couldn't care less. It's just when I dollar cost average, I put the money in whenever I have it. But since this is obviously depending on the new calendar year, so I had to wait for January 4th. And now I'm sitting here, it's the 11th, I haven't done it yet. Shall I start? Shall I dollar cost average? Can I have it a bit cheaper? I'm just, this is gambling for a couple of days. Not that it matters because the whole amount will go into Tesla, but it's a matter of, can I catch it as cheap as possible? So yes, I'm looking at technicals at the moment, but very rarely.
Interesting. Okay, Jeff?
Yeah, I think it's appropriate to first pour through the fundamentals, understand the fundamentals, and then put a technical overlay, and then prioritize which technicals you're looking at. I agree with Christian on that, but I do think using them both can be pretty powerful. But if I had to rely on one, it'd only be the fundamentals. But you don't have to. They're out there. The technicals are out there. There's people that do them for you. So do the fundamental research on what you own or what you want to own, and then look at the technical picture, and maybe it helps you find an entry or an exit point based on supply levels and based on other factors. So I use them together, but I rely on the fundamentals as the kind of the platform, and then I overlay technicals as appropriate.
Nice. Okay, Mr. Technicals, Xander's guy.
I agree with what the team is saying here. For long term,
Take a look at his screen back there. That's the technicals right there.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. So, ultimately, if you looked at the fundamentals and you believe in the company and you're going long, like I always say, my majority of my portfolio, I don't care about the technicals. But so long and medium term, just dollar cost average. That's all you need to do. If you're in investing, you've seen all the clips. Individual stock, don't try to pick the needle in the haystack. Buy the haystack. Go SPY or index funds. That's the safest play. But yeah, QQQ, right? Was that the top 100 S&P 500?
No, the S&P is the 500. QQ is the
NASDAQ
sector, the Apples, Microsoft, right? The NASDAQ, yeah, the big guy.
Gotcha. Yeah. So for short term, it's really about, like what Alexandra mentioned, deploying new funds and understanding that there are supply zones, or where there's been a lot of price action. You're very likely to have uh, people that want to get out or make a decision in the change. But then it's really also important to understand what's happening with the fundamentals of the business. Let's say Wall Street is ready to move. And their position size is huge, and how can they buy 100 million shares, or whatever uh, the necessary volume for them is. They have to create a liquidity event. So there's lots of fake outs that you see. So how can you know when that's coming, or if your limit order will execute? It's nice to know. And if you take a look back there, let me get my mouse over there. One of the most overhyped technicals you'll ever hear about is head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders. Yeah, so I drew this one. It's from August. Then you had when we came down, and then now we're kind of approaching that. So if we have a bounce here, it's good sign for the stock. There was a gap fill that occurred today. I posted about that. So it's important, but really, it all comes down to, if you're day trading, or in my case today, I don't see any positive for the day. There was terrible news, terrible. Hertz, you have Elon's doing drugs, all of this stuff. So when the technicals show you that there's a bounce, and there's things like VWAP, which is volume weighted average price, and Bollinger Bands, and moving averages, there's so many. That's all noise. If you're doing short-term trading, then you want to watch how short-term traders trade and learn from them, so that you can understand that there are funds, high-frequency trading that occurs at these specific little technicals. But I can go on about this, and I'll put everyone to sleep. So let's move on.
No. We want you to go on. I think you and I should do a show. That was just a masterclass. I appreciate you sharing that. It's shocking that most of us here actually do look at technicals for certain very specific moments, very specific times. So we've got Mr. Technical, Xander Sky. We got the Queen, Alexandra Mertz. We got the Bear, Christian. And then we have Mr. Bad News, Jeff.
Uh-oh.
I forgot about Elon being a alleged drug addict.
I'm a NVIDIA bull. So what are you talking
It's
about?
already more than 2 days ago. You can't forget about that one.
That's old news.
I'm joking, Jeff. You're not Mr. Bad News. I just had you do that today. Thank you for doing that today.
My feelings aren't hurt.
Well, here's one bad news that some people thought, and then you thought it was bad news. Okay, so let's talk about it. This is the Model 3 announcement. How the Model 3 was announced. So it was announced, and everybody was very excited because it was surprised. I don't know anybody who said it was going to happen 2 days ago, that Model 3 refresh is now going to be available in US, in North America. And it was a shock. But you said you didn't like that they announced it on Tuesday night, which is a weird time to do it. And then some people thought, well, the reason they did that was they don't want to flush too many orders in. And that was some people's reaction. What's your take on all this?
Yeah, I mean, I was half falling asleep on the couch. I think the reruns of Three's Company was just about to hit on the Comedy Central channel, and then Tesla launched, the number 2 vehicle sold in the world via tweet. And so here's the good things. First off, everybody knows I'm super bullish on Tesla. Here are the good things. They got the car. I mean, the cars, the reviews are off the charts. The supply chain team has supply. Their people are ordering the car and taking delivery this month. That's a home run for Tesla. They changed about half the components in the car, so that's not a small undertaking for them to figure all that out. The store was stocked with all the accessories, so product good, supply good. The pricing's out there, and websites ready to go. Like, that's all. To me, that's all. Those are the important things you want to get right. I just didn't understand the midnight Eastern. Here's, this is 25% of our portfolio, and here's the new version of the car. I didn't get that. I tweeted about it. I posted about it, and of course, I'm getting, attacked left and right. Of I don't get it. or why are you being critical? You can be critical if you own a stock, you comment on it, you're kind of involved with it and you try to understand things. You can, if you're only positive about things and you're like mentally blocking out things, you may have a problem with your investment thesis. So I think you should be able to kind of step back and say, here are the good things, here are the not so good things, and then put them in perspective. Like I said, the most important things to get right are the product and the supply, and they did. And so yeah, I don't understand the midnight thing, and then the commentary again. I appreciate everybody's ideas about, well, hey, maybe they didn't want to. I don't know what an overwhelmed order book actually looks like. An order book is usually software, and if you're manual, it's a spreadsheet, and you can add more lines in the spreadsheet. Now, when it comes to capacity planning, the next logical question is I hope Model 3 isn't capped out on capacity, because guess what? If you follow the EV adoption curve, it's continuing to grow. And if Model 3 is 25% of your business, you better be adding Model 3 capacity. And Tesla has modularity between 3 and Y in Shanghai and Fremont. And I'd love to hear the case of like, what I don't understand this commentary of, well, they didn't want to overwhelm the order book. Overwhelm the order book, get a tremendous amount of orders, maybe shut down the website, and maybe that's going to be the breaking news the following day is Tesla website overloaded. They stopped taking orders because they're overwhelmed. That would be a great headline for the company for once. But anyway, I didn't understand this, oh, here's the 6D chess and they're launching at midnight so nobody notices. So I didn't get that. And then Elon tweeted, I think the following day of like, hey, here's the new Model 3. And so anyway,
shortest post ever.
yeah. So anyway, I'm not, by the way, and there was a bunch of people going in this direction of, oh, he's commenting and all this stuff. He doesn't have time to launch them. No, that's not it. He's got infinite time. None of us understand how his calendar actually works. He's extremely efficient. I'm not saying that that's the problem. What I'm saying is somebody somewhere planned the Model 3 launch a year ago. Somebody said, we're changing these parts. We're going to do this. Here's where we want the cost. Here's the problems we want to solve for consumers. Here's where we want to launch. Here's how the launch plan's going to go. And I don't believe they laid this out a year ago that we're going to launch in 2 regions and not launch in North America till a couple months later. I don't think they played it out that way. I think something happened. And then I don't think they planned a midnight launch on Tuesday via a tweet. I don't think that was the plan. So
and I don't see any
was my
advantage.
feedback.
Elon posted that, Jeff. He's going to overwhelm the order book. That was a mistake.
Yeah, I don't understand what overwhelming. I've worked in supply chain for a couple of decades. I've seen an overwhelmed order book. We usually get really happy when that happens. I'll tell you a quick 10-second story. We launched when Galaxy One was out there, and we were in Android. We were going against the early versions of iPhone. We had a phone called the Droid X, and we put launch supply into Verizon. This was probably 2010. So this is probably the second or third iPhone. We were outselling the iPhone at Verizon. We shipped everything we had into Verizon. It was a huge launch order, and everything was gone in 3 days. What did we do? Well, we packed our suitcases up and we went out to Asia, and we figured out how to double our capacity that quarter and then double it the following quarter. So if Tesla had an overwhelmed Model 3 order book, that would be a great problem to have. There'd be some extension on deliveries, and then what they would do is they wouldn't pick the peak capacity point. They would pick probably a midpoint and say, all right, this is where the run rate's going to be. We know it's really high right now. We'll pick a midpoint. We'll increase capacity, and we've got a hit on our hands. So I thought that's where it could have left us. But anyway, I posted that, and I got a lot of negativity. Whatever, that's fine.
And I have a question. So I know we had the China and Europe launch before, but for the America launch, was there any YouTuber who did what they did for the Cybertruck? Was there any review? Did any of that happen, or did it just evaporate?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just came out. I don't know if there's any reviews under embargo or anyway. I mean, again, maybe they're trying to downplay the amount of change in the vehicle. I don't know. By the way, somebody said, well, hey, maybe they still got to sell the old one. Well, that's a problem. Like that you didn't plan. If you didn't clear out your old channel inventory, then that's they should have done it. But I think they are. I think they're executing on product and supply. I think those are the two important things. By the way, if you remember SNX, that was a problem. Like S was down for like over a year. They weren't executing on product and supply. So they're doing all the hard stuff. They had a pretty cool launch event for the S Plaid. And anyway, I didn't. Anyway, it's
Don't
fine.
worry about
I
it,
mean,
Jeff. I think what you just explained makes perfect sense to me. And Model 3 is not like a new car. It's an incremental, it's a design change,
Yeah.
an incremental design change. So you might have an incremental order increase. You're not going to have like this massive, crazy. So I think what you're saying makes complete sense. And so you're fine.
Yeah.
They didn't even raise the price, which was a little shocking considering now you get ventilated seats, screen back there, and
but there's no performance anymore. Performance is not available
For now.
For now, I imagine.
For now. And by the way, to your point, that's a great point you just brought up. That's what you do when your order book is overwhelmed. First off, you actually, if you think you're going to be overwhelmed, you think you're going to change your launch approach and launch at midnight because you're going to be overwhelmed. You wouldn't do that. You would launch at a normal time, and you would raise your price. That's how you deal with order books being overwhelmed. You do it with pricing. So
Like they did with Cybertruck.
Anyway, yeah.
Wonderful. Jeff, thank you so much for going through that. Your expertise is pretty powerful, and I appreciate that because I think there was a lot of misunderstandings on this.
I get smarter every time I listen to Jeff. I get smarter.
I do. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if anybody else has any feedback on the launch too. It doesn't have to just be me, but that was just my feedback. And maybe
I gave my
maybe
feedback.
there is some 6B chess going. I don't know.
I don't think it's, well, it could be, but I doubt it.
Yeah, just
I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but the reality is anything that Tesla does, no matter what hour of the day, it's going to be carried, it's going to be announced, it's going to be, discussed all over anyways. So
I think the bigger point is, and let me just jump in. I think the bigger point is, I don't know if it doesn't matter. I think the bigger point is Jeff just made a common sense, I guess, post. And it seems like, that the community or the Tesla, no matter what is done by Tesla, there's a certain group that it is going to come and say, what you just said is complete. No matter what it is, even if it makes 100% sense, it's always going to be, no, you don't understand. And that part of it is a little bit, I think that's kind of what Jeff's getting at. Like he just made a common sense thing. So if you want to disagree with it, that's fine. But like some of the hyperbole that comes out of some people when it comes to Elon and Tesla gets so extreme that the most basic common sense statement gets scrutinized. So I'll just leave it at that.
Like I said, they got the big things right. The product is good and the supply is there. So I'm going to be interested to see. The other thing I like is we didn't know when Model 3 was going to launch in North America. We didn't know if it was going to be April or June or what. I mean, we didn't know. And now it's January, 9th. That's actually really good. You're going to get a lot of units in Q1. You're going to get a lot of units for the year. So that to me, when I'm thinking of like plus minuses for the company, I think it's overall a big plus that it launched this early in the year and in the quarter. So I'm looking forward to the impact.
Sure, but it is for me strange that it's done while there's still this IRS limbo where nobody really knows with the $7,500 and all that. I think it just would have been more logical to straighten all that out first, which seems to be more an issue on the IRS side. Tesla seems to have done their application on time, but they haven't gone through all the approved dealers yet, and it feels off, feels unprofessional on that one element, which is surprising for a company that executes so well on so many other aspects.
Well, Alexandra, you actually bring up what I was going to chime in with. Is it possible that because of the IRA not being available for the Model 3, that they just want to launch it as is, let that order, the take rate, measure it, and then once, if they're able to switch the battery supply or whatever, and maybe I have the wrong information. So can you sharpen that? What is the thing that they need to clear up? I thought it was if you don't have the correct materials in the battery, you can't get the credit.
Yeah, as far as I remember, it was origin of batteries or battery material, and in both of those, the batteries are not 100% US or all Chinese, I think, if I remember right, and that's why it can't even be that intermediary stage of $3,750 where there's some compromise between both situations.
Yeah.
But the whole issue also is that the 7,500 that are now at point of sale have to go through a dealership agreement where the dealer applies to the IRS saying, okay, I'm now the one being in charge of attributing the 7,500 at the point of sale, because it's not going to be the IRS that every half second calls and approves them. And so that approval from the IRS that the dealer is now entitled to apply the point of sale reduction seems to stagnate. There seems to be an information flow, and that's true for other dealers as well. It's not just a Tesla problem. If you follow the rest of the car industry, everybody seems to moan about that they're still waiting for their approvals. And that will then apply to the Model 3 Performance, which currently is not available, and to the Model Ys and to the Model X long range.
Yeah, I think one of the other problems is, and I don't know if Jeff wants to or whoever, the Model Y we know qualifies for the 7,500 discount, and the Model 3 does not because of the battery situation. So you in effect, with the 7,500 off the Model Y, you have Model Y, which is a bigger car and probably a better car, actually cheaper than the Model 3. So I think Tesla has to address that in some type of pricing structure. If the Model 3 does not get the credit, the Model Y with the 7,500 off is actually cheaper than the Model 3. So I think that has to get resolved at some point here.
Yeah, I thought about that, and and on its surface, I agree with it. But now, if you look at the Model 3, it's kind of like it's a different car than the Y. It's a better car. It's not the old 3 and Y before where they were the same. Now it's a much better 3. It's got a rear screen. It's got the interior lighting. It's got all the suspension improvement. It's got the ventilated seats. So it's actually now I'm on a different kind of I'm on a different path on this one. I actually think it's a better car and it can probably sit near the same price. I don't think it's a problem anymore now that we've seen what's in the vehicle and how it's spec'd. We didn't know how North America was going to get spec'd because it's going to be more to assemble this thing here and versus the China version. But it looks like they've carried over all the new features and upgrades. So this is a better car than the old 3. So I don't have as much of an issue with it sitting a little bit higher.
You might be right, Jeff, on that. You actually might be right. I just don't know if the buyer's that discerning, because buyers, especially in the U.S., room is like a big thing. Like, is it more room? And usually that garners a bigger price. So I agree with you. I just don't know if the buyer is
That's true.
sophisticated enough to know about the ventilation and the screen in the back to justify them going, So, but I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see that on the
Okay.
Tesla ads.
It's coming,
Yeah.
Jeff. Okay. Oh man. Okay, so let's another thing
real quick,
that
Herbert, before we move on, do we think the margins on this refresh 3 are better than the old 3? What's our temperature?
Maybe not initially, because the cost to do it would be hurtful in the beginning, but maybe Jeff knows more than that. But at the end, once they get everything, it would then hit. Yeah.
The complex assembly stuff they've left mostly the same. So the big things that would have been a really big capital outlay, they left the same. So this will get to its peak gross margins faster than something like a Cybertruck would, much faster actually. So I think when you think of gross margins, Xander, you think of launch, then you think of peak, and then you think of terminal. Terminal is like, what do you think it's going to, or lifetime maybe. And so I think lifetime it's going to be higher than the prior 3. Launch will be a little challenged, but I think they're going to get to their peak gross margins pretty quickly, given what's reused and what isn't reused. The really tough parts are reused. The real tough structural stuff's reused. The high dollar capex stuff is reused, and the more the cosmetic stuff is not. So I think they'll get there pretty quickly.
Okay.
Model 3 is going to be, I think, a great product for Tesla this year. I think globally, I think it's going to do very well. And hopefully they can get the peak gross margins pretty quickly and then have some flexibility with the pricing. But yeah, it's not as tired of a product anymore.
Yeah, I love it. It's my
Anybody
favorite.
else?
Model 3 is my favorite of the bunch. Go ahead, Herbert. Move it.
All right, can we move on, guys?
You can't shut
Let's
us
do it.
up.
Okay. All right. So what do you guys think about this news? This came out. Times of India just yesterday said that Elon Musk is no longer attending this event. He initially was announced to be coming to India. We all thought that that might mean that there's going to be some sort of deal, whether it's Megapack factory, whether it's an actual Gigafactory. This is coming from an official of the government. It's coming from Times of India. So it seems like it's kind of a little bit more potential valid here. Does that mean that they're not going to invest in India anymore? Probably not. But, why do you think this is happening? Any interpretations from the group here?
I mean, we've seen a couple of times that when these regions or states pre-announce stuff, Tesla got very quickly tight. Remember how that happened in Spain, and then they backed off. So I mean, I'm not sure this is the end to India, because I do believe this is was a great place to do it and the right moment to do it. But as we have seen with Mexico, where suddenly for 6 months everything was delayed, as we've seen with Spain when everything was canceled, as we've seen with so many other European states. Remember a year ago how we were all discussing France and I was freaking out. Nothing happened in France. So I just think it's Tesla's privilege and deserved privilege to announce it when they are ready. I don't think they want to be bullied into, this is an event, this is now happening the 12th, you're coming on our spot, we're going to announce this together hand in hand. That's just not how Tesla and Elon function. They're ready when they're ready, and they want to be the ones having the cards in hand when they announce it. And I think this is just one more episode in that way. And they're playing Indonesia against India, against Mexico, against I don't know where else. And are negotiating and are making sure they're getting as much of those governments as they can, which is all in our interests. So I'm actually always following Rohan Patel. He's in charge of business development, as is Omad. And sometimes when they post tweets from their mobiles, it shows where they are. Very interesting to follow. Oh yeah, my rabbit hole.
Oh, I like
Tricky.
it. Herbert, check your text message real quick.
Yeah, I think Alexandra, those are incredible instincts. I think, and I agree with a lot of it. There could be a final kind of screw to turn on these negotiations. Usually, when everything's done and it's really up to the principals, like everything's really mostly done. Maybe there's one thing they give to the principals to think about. But I think that the timing thing and not being forced, and there could be like one more quarter turn or half turn on the screw that's needed to lock something in. So yeah, Tesla's in an interesting position. They're in a great position. They're in a position where they have three major things that they're building right now. Eventually it'll be four, but they have the auto, they have energy, they have the charging infrastructure, and then eventually a bot. And these are all kind of like pieces. And basically they're going into these markets and saying, look, the TAM for this is going to go from this to this. How much of this do you want? And you want to be a part of it, because I have these other geos that want to build all this stuff. I mean, and they all have their own export lanes, and you're going to be having a conversation with Mexico, but hey, I have this Berlin plant that can do all this stuff for Eastern Europe as well. So I don't know how much I need you, India. So what can you bring to the table? So they're in a phenomenal position. They're not in the ICE business where it's flat to declining. They're in the EV business, the energy business, the bot business, where there's this massive expansion. So Tesla has really almost all the leverage, and they're the proven. They're number one. So when you're number one and you're in this massive growing industry, I mean, you can get tremendous deals, and I think that's what they're trying to do here.
Okay. You know, it could very well be, this is an optimistic approach, that Elon doesn't have to be there. He's busy, he's doing something else. He decides not to go, but it could still be announced. We never know. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
I don't actually want them to announce anything in India. I think that they should be focused on the bot. They should be focused on the Gen 2, and Mexico. And I don't want them to too many factories. This is too much for me, even.
well, I think ultimately you have a headline that says, Tesla's welcome to invest, like it's over. But at the end of the day, it's as Jeff said with amazing words that for me it's two words: it's negotiating power. That's all it is. If you never say that you have a deal until it's in ink. Simple
Good
as that.
points, guys.
And
All
Herbert,
right, so
the way to think about this is one quick thing. The way to think about it, it's not is it a distraction now? It's what are they going to need in 2026
okay, yeah,
to be
announce it
successful?
now.
And they're probably going to need that
Yeah.
supply lane, and they're going to need that leverage with China by 2026.
Yeah, they can announce it now, but don't break ground for a year and a half and just prepare.
No, they're going to have to break
right.
ground this year. What I'm saying is that in terms of it being online and producing margin and revenue, you're talking 2026. So you have to think about what supply, what leverage do I need in the marketplace? What customers do I need to serve in which regions by 2026? What's my footprint need to look like? You need to be having that conversation in 2023, early 2024 to be ready for 26. So think 2026. They're going to be building some pretty big numbers.
Compact car specifically. Okay, that's so producer Xander asked me to play this. Tell me why I'm playing this video.
Because it's badass.
Because it's
Look at the
cool.
marketing. Yeah, look at the marketing right there. Just. Oh man, that's beautiful. And look at the comments underneath that. It's from the Cybertruck account. And
Okay.
I just while Jeff was saying all the wonderful things, I glanced at my phone and went, "Wow, that's is that good marketing?" Real quick, is that
And what
good
happened
marketing?
with the 3 cubes that fell on the floor? I mean,
I've
that's
seen
me.
better,
That's the
Xander.
girl.
I've seen better.
The bot
I've seen
went
better
out there and picked them up, Alexandra. They just
Ah.
cut that part. All right, let's move on. We got a few more topics here. So we got the macro, and we can talk about lemonade. Who wants to give us an update on what's happening with macro?
Our macro guy's gonna
Is
go.
that me or Jeff?
Sure.
Obviously.
I'll give you my quick
Okay.
take.
Well,
I'll give you my
you
quick
keep.
take.
All
Okay.
right. Quick
So
take.
macro. So or long take. Hey, I didn't talk that much this episode. I've been very nice. Macro. So interest rates. So we had an inflation report. So I don't know when this is going to air tomorrow, but CPI came out. It was a little hot, but the market, which I thought kind of would happen initially, it was up, it was down, and by the end of the day, it was pretty much flat, right? So I think the market knows that the direction of inflation is down, hopefully. And hopefully that is, because if it reaccelerates, we have a little bit of a problem. Because the Fed has signaled, Powell signaled that the next probable move is down, meaning a rate cut. Now, the market is way out of whack here, I think. They got like 5 or 6 cuts priced in. I think that's way too aggressive. Last year they were wrong. They were calling for cuts. I was saying, no way. There's no cuts. The economy's too strong. Inflation's still above 2%. It was, 4%, 3%. Even that is not at the target. So if the economy's doing well and jobs are doing okay, there's really no reason for the Fed to cut. But that being said, now that the Fed has kind of indicated the next thing is a cut, it's when. Some people said March. I think that's a little aggressive unless we get some major deterioration in the job picture or a GDP deceleration. I don't think they're going to cut in March, which is fine. The economy is holding in there. People have jobs. Wage inflation is nice. It's not super high, but it's enough where people can get what they want. Even though it's kind of tough out there, people are managing somehow. So I don't think that's a major worry. So I think this summer we'll see the first cut, but nobody knows. But I think right now the main thing is to focus on individual companies, because I think there's a lot of companies, even in this environment, and for me, it's big cap tech. The AI revolution's here. And I think you can do well in a 4% 10-year environment, right? Without rate cuts. Because like just for example, like the Googles of the world, the Apples of the world, the Microsofts of the world, they have just tremendous amounts of cash that they can fund their business, and even Tesla to an extent. And they're going to get, on the short term, you can get 5.5. They have all that cash earning money. So those kind of companies, so big cap tech, basically the QQQ index or whatever, I think they're going to have another good year followed on last year, because they're built for this. They're almost, bulletproof, because even if there's a little downturn in the economy, are you not, using Google and its services? Are you not going, you are, right? Like the chip in NVIDIA, are you not, they're investing for the AI. It's a race. They need chips. Everybody needs chips. Cloud computing's still growing. So these companies are well positioned financially, and they're well positioned just because their business isn't really that cyclical anymore. And that's why it gets a lot of investment, because you can even hold these things through kind of a so-so economy, because they're just so we just need it. And so I'll just end it there. So I think macro, the main thing we need to worry about is inflation reaccelerating. As long as inflation stays kind of where it is and it keeps trending down directionally, we'll be fine. So I'll just leave it at that. And I'll just say one other thing. The main thing is the Fed can't get cute here. I was talking about it last year. They've done a good job up to now. But if they get too cute and try to stay too long when signals are saying, you need to lighten up on the rhetoric, or you need to at least cut and start the process and then wait for more data. Because if they just stay here, or they get really cute and try to do an increase, which I don't think they will, that would be a disaster. Hope that made some sense.
Yep. Okay, Jeff, did you want to cover this?
Yeah, I think Christian did a great job. There's also a couple accounts on Twitter that just do, I think, really good jobs on macro. I think we may have one on the show in a few weeks. I mean, not too much more to add. We have PPI tomorrow, and that's really the leading indicator. That's the producer price index, and that's what does it cost from a procurement perspective for these key commodities, and those are really input cost to the actual economy. So I'll be looking forward to seeing that. I don't think the CPI number was overly meaningful in one direction or another. I think if you get another print like this, then there may be an issue of like, is inflation reduction, is it stalling out? But it really isn't. It looks like the housing component, that owner equivalent rent component is just a little bit sticky in terms of when are we going to actually see the roll off of it. But if you look at trueflation, it's much lower. What the Fed looks at is the PCE. The 6-month rolling average, I think, still has a 2 in front of it. So that's what the Fed's going to be looking for, is the PCE. So they'll take the CPI, the PPI, and the PCE and composite, but they kind of sort the PCE, which we'll get later in the month, to the top as the key priority. We'll also, we'll get some more jobs data. I think we got one, an update this morning was kind of right on. So got to watch the jobs piece, have to watch inflation. But I don't think this put us in one direction or another. I think the rate cut expectations for March were still like, 70%, for a cut in March. So it kind of stuck. And that's what the market did. The market kind of like looked at it and said, well, instead of just having this visceral reaction, which was what you would have in a bear market of like bad, right, overly hot news on the economy would flip the market really super negative, and it would stay negative all day. The fact that it recovered throughout the day tells you this is acting more like a bull market than it is like a bear market.
Yeah, real quick, that's a great point, Jeff. That today, that recovery gave me a lot of confidence that we are more in a bull market. Anything could happen, but that gave me a lot of confidence to hold my positions and maybe add on that. So yeah, that was a great point. Sorry, Zan.
Yeah, that was me. I was just going to chime in and say, we were talking about technicals earlier. You look at things like extreme greed going into CPI, and the calls that are, outweighing the puts. So the market is bullish. So to have a pullback back down. That's natural and normal. I wouldn't go, worrying about the markets. We've entered a new bear market and that's it. This is the end of the run. But certainly, looking at the fundamentals is the important part, and you guys did a great job covering that.
Let's talk about X, kind of, just a topic to discuss the progress of X. They talked about being the most creator revenue that's going to be possible for creators. What do you guys think about the progress so far? Are you guys, is it good? And of course, Elon's kind of activity in X, he's becoming very political, and this can be a very political year. What's your thoughts?
I love X.
You love
Oh,
X? Well, I love it. I love X as well. I think they've actually not done yet as much as I had hoped they did now, because it's more over a year now. If I understood it right, not that I understand much for it, but I talked to some technical people from time to time. It is still actually 4 different platforms that try to coexist, just because he has the old stuff, he has some new add-ons, another one. So at the moment, it's still this very unstructured approach, just, heal and use what we have and get to the next stage. They're getting their financial licenses at earliest this summer, so probably it's going to be fall or end of the year. By then, I think we'll see a real revamp where the optics change and where there is really one big new infrastructure that replaces these current 4 placeholders. So I'm very proud of what he's doing. I think he's doing it with a lot of noise, and sometimes I could do with a little bit less. This was a crucial year, or this is a crucial year to gain market share, because it's elections in 70 countries in the world. I mean, this is one of the highest election years in the world, not only American elections, which are obviously important, but in 69 other countries. It's the Olympic Games. They are making good progress on specific themes. For example, fashion. I mean, I know for us Tesla people, we don't care. We're in our little bubble. But they have a real good segment now in fashion. There's a whole fashionista world now happening on X. The CES in Las Vegas that's currently undergoing, the most tweets, the most activity is on X. Obviously, anything political happens on X. Tiger Wood announcing that he's exiting his Nike contract after, I don't know, 26 years or how much it was, happened on X. So it's just, and even Krugman, who left X, had to come back because on Thread it wasn't happening. And I think Ross is back as well. I mean, I'm blocked, so I couldn't know. But so, I mean, all this to say is he managed to survive against all odds. He has the world against him, right? All this establishment is against him winning this game, and he is winning it. He is not winning it in the most elegant fashion, but sometimes wars are not elegant. Sometimes they just have to be fought. And he's going there, and I think by mid this year, end this year, we'll have a complete new, much more technical, better version with finance on it, with payment options, with shopping. There's this new deal with Shopify that is going to help X a lot. So all this to say, it's dirty, but it's war, and we're getting there, and we're winning this war.
Well said, Alexandra. I'll just do a plug. I love X too. I love the new features. I love spaces. I'm a big free speech guy. I think it's important that, and I've said this a million times, I think it's important that people of different backgrounds or different political persuasions have the ability within the law and within reason, to express themselves without, anyone interfering. So I think that is big for America. That's what we stand for. So I love that part of it. I love all the new innovations that are to come, payments and all that, spaces, and who knows? There's probably stuff happening right now that we don't know of. So I love it a lot. And I'll just do a plug. I think you were to talk about Lemonade. I do a Lemonade space. Anyone out there that cares? It's a little passion project that I'm doing Fridays at 1. And, I enjoy it. It's a small little gathering, and it's a little company that's near and dear to my heart that I think has a lot of opportunity in the long term. And we talk about it and different investors, and we go back and forth. And so I enjoy it. And that's what I love about X. People coming together, community coming together, and we're able to express our thoughts and differing opinions, even as long as it's respectful, and we go back and forth, and it's a great time. So little shout out there. Thank you, everyone.
So that's why he's back. He's promoting his new project. I want to chime in with there was I saw some picture of like the 3 new people launching their shows on X. I think Don Lemon. I don't know the political affiliations of all of these people, but what I found interesting was that one was labeled left, one was labeled middle, one was labeled right, and everyone can come to X, and you're seeing it now. So the free speech part is undeniable. It's a beautiful thing, and I'm so as much as it hurts, and I've said this for me personally, I've been behind it, even though as a shareholder, short term it does hurt. It was juice was worth the squeeze in my opinion.
Well said, Dan.
Anything from you, Jeff?
No, I've said enough.
Okay.
No,
I mean,
Are you going to Christian's lemonade space? He's having a lemonade stand on
know.
Friday at
Yeah.
1 o'clock.
the lemonade
He's
stand.
having a lemonade
That's what
stand.
you should call it.
Xander
Call it the
supported my
lemonade
first one. I'll remember that.
Christian's
Xander supported my
lemonade
first- everyone
stand.
else
Christian's lemonade stand. Fresh
Yeah, you gotta give the
lemonade.
name. You got to give it a name like that, like lemonade stand or something. I agree with
Lemonade
that.
stand.
Yeah. Oh, maybe. I've been calling it lemonade chat number, and I number it, and I put the the changing face of insurance. But I like lemonade stand. That's pretty cool. I might use that.
stand.
Yeah, we can
Yeah, come to
Photoshop
me for
you kind of
marketing.
in well,
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah,
in
yeah. Jeff,
at a lemonade
Toimer.
stand.
With a lemon on my head.
Yeah. So my
Gotta be
views on
pink.
X is obviously I just love this platform. I met you guys on this platform.
Oh,
There's
true.
just so many incredible things happening. You know, prior to that, I loved Twitter, but you know, just they couldn't even get one little feature, right? Editing a tweet for 30 seconds. They couldn't do the edit. Now every single day there's a brand new feature. They've totally improved the whole platform, like just amazing light speed. I love videos, and then of course I'm pumping out 3 videos every day, 7 days a week, and I am doing as much as I can posting on X. It's not quite yet the same revenue share, nowhere near to what YouTube is, but they're promising that that's the case. So I can't wait when X matches what you can do at X and then or on YouTube. And I just think that the where this platform is headed is exactly where I'd want it to be. Exactly with the free speech, but also just communicating with people. You can have spaces, which is so special. We do one each week on Tuesdays, but now they're going to add video there too. So, boy, guys, this is amazing, and yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think that it's improving in the right place, and I just hope that he survives, which I believe it will. Not relying on advertisers, which then changes the business model, changes the game, right? You're no longer just advertising, and it's about, like trying to get something in front of your face, no matter if it's useful for you or not, to something that's really honed in to you, personalized. It's going to just change everything. So great platform. Okay. Well, wonderful, guys. Thank you so much. This was fun. We had a little bit more fun this time around. And thank you for joining us again, Christian.
was here.
Appreciate
Christian
you.
is
Brings
I
one.
all
missed you guys.
fun.
It was fun. It was fun to
Fire
chat.
and ice. Lemonade stand.
Next week, we'll give Jeff the chance to tell us all the good news that's happening to Tesla.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you
how
guys,
he is
everybody.
partying for his birthday. For his
Happy birthday, Jeff.
birthday. Because today
Good
he's
enough for
all years old.
Oh boy.
He gave himself a Cybertruck as his birthday gift. And so you'll have
Yeah,
to share with us
exactly.
as soon as that arrives.
I did too.
Well,
If
Terry,
I
yeah.
told Tesla too, I was texting back and forth with my Tesla reps. I'm like, if I got a VIN for my birthday, that would be wonderful.
It'd be big.
And he said, I couldn't care less.
Yeah, doing the jerking motion on the other side of the call.
Get
yeah.
in line.
Whatever.
You wait like everybody else, Jeff. Who do you think you are?
Nobody.
Oh, yeah. Well, we can't end that way. You're somebody, Jeff. Okay.
Happy
Oh,
birthday,
thanks.
See you
Jeff.
guys. Bye, everybody.
birthday.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.